Hello, my name is Dr. Jacob Bryant, and I'll be your instructor for this online COMM 181 class taught through KCTCS. This is Introduction to Public Speaking, and this is a class that I know most people probably dread more than any of them, but I think you will really enjoy it. And I want you to kind of get to know me first before you dive into the work so that you can kind of get a feel for my expectations and things as well. But just to start things off, I'll tell you that I teach full-time 6th grade science at College View Middle School, and I do this on the side. The reason I teach this class is this all started out as a dream for me in wanting to teach public speaking, as I had just a great public and speaking instructor when I took this as a high school student 8 years ago, and it's taken me 8 years to kind of realize this dream that I had of teaching public speaking, and so I'm just so thankful to have been given this opportunity. It has gone so well up to this point, and I continue to look for great things as I develop these classes and improve them semester after semester, and work with you and guide your speech development along the way too. A little bit more about me. I am married. You can see my wife Laura here in the photo. We have no children of our own, but that doesn't mean we don't love Walt Disney World. We try to make it there at least once a year, and sometimes we also make it to Disneyland too with some relatives that we have out in California. Really, those are the main things about me and us. I enjoy traveling to Walt Disney World and really anywhere. I love getting to see new things, as I'm sure many of you do. And I love public speaking and leadership. Those are my two wheelhouses. And so I kind of get to integrate those together into this class, and I just look forward to developing you in this class as well. So let's talk about the syllabus, because this is kind of our contract that we have as far as what coursework you are expected to do, what things must you do in order to be successful in the class. And so we'll start off with just kind of taking a look at some of the introductory information. You know, this is my email address. That is the best way to get a hold of me. I don't have an on-campus office because I teach middle school during the day. And so that is the absolute best way to get a hold of me, is via email at that email address listed there. Try to get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. Try to get that quick response time in so that you know what's expected of you and get any questions answered via assignments. You know, my goal for you is just to develop into the very best public speaker you can be. Someone that your employer can go, man, I can tell they did a good job in their public speaking class. Someone that can feel comfortable taking the microphone. So, you know, I want you to find your voice, and I want you to be confident whenever you've got to take that microphone and you've got to say something. Because that is a fear that some people have more so than anything happening to them, is having to public speak. And so I just want you to kind of develop that over the next 18 weeks so that you can be the best public speaker you can be, and you can shine through in your abilities and carry those over into the workplace where you will go next. So some interesting things here. Yes, we have an online class, but you do need to find 5 to 8 people that you will use to watch your speeches. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about that, but let me go ahead and say that once, and I'll say it again later. You know, you'll need those 5 to 8 people to be present and watch your speeches, because after all, this is public speaking, so you'll need to have an audience of some kind. Now, they can be peers, they can be people that are older than you. I've had some folks do these at an old folks home. They've just found that's a great way to get 5 people together and watch them. And you know, you'll record these speeches and upload them to YouTube, and making sure that you show that audience at the beginning and the end of your video. But 5 is definitely the minimum, and you all will do a great job of getting those audience members together and delivering your speeches. You're going to have to find them 5 times for all 5 of the speeches that we do, except for the Owensboro section. The Owensboro section, you'll only need them 4 times because you'll give 1 speech on campus. And so we'll kind of talk about that as well later on in the video. But you know, you'll need to have that regular group of people, and you will do a speech every 2 weeks. So if you can kind of get a heartbeat pattern going of, you know, this is when we need to meet, this is when we need to meet, this is when we need to meet, so that I can get a speech nailed down, that is, you know, going to be great for you. You know, you're not writing any papers. You'll have to do some outlines, but you know, you don't have to do any kind of research writing. I just need you to find 5 to 8 people that can consistently listen to you speak. Okay? Big ideas in this class is that I want you to grow. Even if you are right now a level 1 out of 10, and 1 being low as a public speaker, even if you get to just a 4 by the end of class, you have done something to improve yourself, and taking this class was worthwhile for you. And I just want to see you grow each and every week. But this class is just offered as a way for you to develop effectively as a public speaker. Okay. Textbook is The Art of Public Speaking. It's by Stephen Lucas. You should be able to access that through the McGraw-Hill Connect app that is linked into Blackboard. If you have any questions about that, feel free to call the IT department. They are great at helping you get set up with that. So that is the McGraw-Hill Connect. There's a link on the Blackboard page for that. Questions about that, direct that to the IT department. They'll help you get set up with that electronic textbook. Or if you'd rather have a paper copy, I can show you what that looks like. And here is the paper copy of the Lucas textbook. This is my instructor copy, but you know, you can also get a paper copy if you prefer the paper method over the electronic textbook. But otherwise, get in touch with IT if you're not aware of how to access that McGraw-Hill Connect where you can get your online textbook. Again, as I mentioned, you have to have that other required material is access to 5 to 8 people to give these speeches in front of. Sometimes this is just people that will watch you speak in a break room at work. Sometimes you may have a study hall if you're still a high school student and you can work with them. I'm sure if you're an on-campus student but you're taking this class online, there's other on-campus students taking this class online that you can kind of network with and take video in some of the student center areas is fine as well. To be an audience member, someone needs to be kindergarten age or older. So children will work for this as long as they are kindergarten age or older. Someone that can kind of listen to a speaker that understands how to play school as well will be great. So again, making sure that you have that is the other required material. If you can check those 2 boxes, you're going to be successful in this class. Okay. Other things that are kind of big musts along with these required materials. You know, you will upload a video. You must show that audience at the beginning and at the end of the speech, okay? It really won't do me any good to know that you've spoken to a crowd if I can't see that they're there at the beginning and the end. I might just assume that you're doing a screencast like I'm doing right now to where, you know, you didn't have an audience. And so it's very important that you have that audience shown at the beginning and the end. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for me to give you a grade, okay? So make sure that you do that. Also, you know, if we were having a face-to-face class, you wouldn't be able to edit your speech midway, okay? So it's got to be raw footage. I shouldn't see any kind of transitions or editing effects in there. You know, it really needs to be that raw footage so that I can see exactly what you did. Now, I'll tell you before, some students will say, man, I did a bad job the first time I recorded it, so I went ahead and recorded it a second time. I won't know if you do that, but I will know if you edit it. So please, 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 do not be editing that footage. If you have to reshoot it, do it again. But the best way to get it right the first time is to make sure you're rehearsing your speeches. And that's just a good practice for public speakers to do, is making sure that they rehearse their speeches ahead of time and so that they are well prepared to deliver. Okay, grade breakdown. This is very straightforward. I love the grading system I have for this class. Class is out of 1,000 points total, so you need 900 in order to get an A, 800 for a B, 700 for a C, 600 to pass, okay? And that is kind of how this class is broken down. It works really well that you have 5 speeches. Each one of those is essentially 10% of your grade, and all of those together combine to make 50%. You will have outlines that you do. Good speakers use outlines. Now, they won't read from a script unless it's like a very informal speech, like at a wedding or something. But if you're giving a strong public speech, you're not going to read from an outline, because after all, you all know how boring would it be if I read to you out of the textbook as my lectures. Now, you're going to want me to use some hand gestures. You're going to want me to make eye contact. You're going to want me to use those good public speaking skills to deliver that information. So again, those outlines are not really for reading directly off of. They're just a reference tool that you can kind of check back on. Okay, so you'll do those 5 outlines for the 5 speeches, and you'll type those up, unless some of them can be handwritten if they're note cards, and you'll get some specific assignment details as you progress through the course. You'll see some different information there. The midterm, very straightforward, 25 questions, all multiple choice. I expect you all to do a great job on that, and I set that up to where if you take it, and you don't do well, you can retake it as many times as you want to get that highest possible score. It's important to me that you work towards being the best that you can be and not necessarily always knowing it right the first go around. So I encourage you to always retake both the midterm and the final exam for the course until you get that score that you're satisfied with. And each of those are worth 10% of your total final grade for the course, the midterm and the final exam. And like I said, the midterm's 25 questions, all multiple choice. The final exam will be 50 questions, but 25 of those will come from the midterm. And so it will be cumulative. And there's also a study guide that you'll do before the final, and that kind of calculates into these personal skills. So these personal skills are calculated by if you take the syllabus quiz, which is what I want you to do after this video is over, and if you did the study guide for the final exam, and then just kind of your basic communication with me. It's important that you know how to communicate with your professor, because that shows me that you'll then be ready to move on into the workplace and communicate effectively via email whenever you're in the workplace. So all of that gets calculated in that personal skills, that professionalism category that's also worth 10% of your score. Okay, so let's talk about emails real quick. Here's an example of a well-written email to a professor. And one of the reasons I want to address this now is because for most of you, this is one of the first courses that you're taking. And it's important to get this formula right as you move on to other colleges where you may not be as straightforward with the professor. They may expect that you call them doctor every time you email them. They may expect a lot more. And so I think it's great that you practice and get the formula right now as you move up into your higher level classes and also into the workplace. Sending emails is a critical skill in the workplace now. So let's talk just a little bit about how to send an email correctly. You're going to obviously send it to their email address that they've put on the syllabus. You're going to have a subject line. Make sure that you have that subject line specific to what you're emailing them about. If perhaps you've got a 0 in the grade book for speech 1, great subject heading. 0 in the grade book for speech 1. Make sure that you have a greeting. Hi, professor, or hi, doctor. Okay, so hi, Dr. Bryant, comma. Make sure you introduce yourself, say who you are, what class you're in, because I teach, believe it or not, 12 hours of classes online in addition to my full-time load at College View Middle School. So it's very important that you identify which class you're in and what you're referring to. And then to get to the content of your message, I noticed that I received a 0 on this. Is it possible for me to make this up or redo this assignment? Thank you for your time. Name. Very straightforward. And this is kind of the expectation. And the reason for that is, again, this is good professionalism that will kind of lead you off into the workplace as you grow and develop more and more. So that is one reason I wanted to address. Finishing up with the assignment details, the speech outlines, I kind of hit on those already. For each of those 5 speeches, you'll make an outline. And those speech outlines, again, are just used for you to have some key notes on. You want to rehearse with those outlines ahead of time rather than sitting there and reading from them, okay? That will bore any audience to tears, I promise you. Speeches, you'll have 5 of those, okay? All the topics are listed here: speech of introduction, informational speech, special occasion, demonstration, and persuasive. Okay, for the Owensboro section, you all will give that persuasive speech on campus. Remember, got to have those 5 to 8 people. You will upload that to YouTube. If you're unfamiliar with uploading videos to YouTube, then you will need to review some of those YouTube how-tos that I've put in the Blackboard site, and that will kind of help you guide your way through using YouTube. Okay, let's see. We've gone over the midterm and the personal effectiveness skills. Talking about course calendar now, everything is always due on Wednesday midnight. I keep that the same so that way you know every week by Wednesday midnight I have something due. Now there's just 1 or 2 off weeks sprinkled in there where you may not have something due on a Wednesday night, but pretty much for this 16 weeks of this class, you will have something due on Wednesday midnight. Some examples of that are going to be like the syllabus quiz, note card, then the video, an outline, then the video. So each week, you've got a very manageable chunk that you'll do, and I will score via a rubric. And that pretty well takes care of everything other than the technical stuff, and I'll let you read that on your own at the end of this syllabus.